And your final candidate for the first portion of the program is Green Party candidate Larissa Shasko.
Well, hello everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight to become an informed voter. I wish there were more citizens like yourselves. What Canada needs right now, like we have never needed before, are informed citizens, because the information speaks for itself. It truly, truly does. There are so many issues this election that need to be talked about. The environment, affordable housing, healthcare, childcare, making Canada world leaders in peacekeeping once again. But before we can even begin to talk about these issues, we have to talk about how dysfunctional our democracy has become. This saddens me greatly. I am a political science major at the U of R. I've studied our political system through and through. Responsible government cannot work without proportional representation. The very pillar of our democracy is broken right now because our electoral system is outdated. The great news is that the problems we are seeing are definitely a sign of inaction, of an inability for our elected representatives to, number one, represent the voters who actually came out and voted, and number two, it's creating the climate where politicians and where our elected representatives can work together. The lack of respect. The lack of respect that we see in the House of Commons is something that we never should have allowed to get this bad, but it's a sign of the times, and as our electoral system became outdated, things just kept getting worse. And often when you're faced with really bad problems, all of a sudden it becomes blatantly obvious that there is a problem at the point where you probably should have made steps to change it yesterday. We're there. This is our election to say, let this be the last unfair election. Absolutely. The type of respect that we need and the ability to work together as colleagues is what I hope you will see from candidates in this election. I would like to thank Noah for voicing his respect. I share that equal respect for Noah and for the citizens and the candidates who are willing to step up and to become part of our electoral process. But I also am going to point out really blatantly when things are being said that aren't as they are. And I am not going to paint a bright and cheery picture of Canada when it's not bright and cheery. We have major issues. So as I said, we have to start by fixing our democracy. When nearly 1 million voters are silenced in a leaders' debate, a decision made by corporate media doesn't have the right to decide who the citizens get to hear from. It's the right of the people to make that decision. And elections are not decided until election day. So also, don't let polls influence how you're going to vote, because polls themselves, as a political scientist, I can tell you, polling has its problems. The only true poll is the one on election day. A bit about myself. In addition to this being my third federal election as the Palliser Green Party candidate, I'm also the leader of the Green Party of Saskatchewan, a position I'm very, very proud to hold. We do a lot of important work in this province. Just because we have a majority government provincially doesn't mean democracy is served. We have had to work tirelessly around the clock to prevent the nuclear industry from taking over our province. Unfortunately, nuclear is far too relevant this election too. Right now, our elected representatives in Ottawa should be setting an example for the rest of the world and saying, enough with nuclear. We don't need it. Canada is a large nation, a wealthy nation. We have definitely no excuses to go renewable anymore. It's time. It's time to go renewable. It's time to focus on energy efficiency and to make the decisions that we need to make today to ensure there is a future tomorrow. That is what this election can do. I think it's difficult when I run into so many voters who say to me, they're not going to vote. The last election, 41% of Canadians stayed home. And half the Canadians who came out to vote, their votes were thrown away and weren't counted in the representation we had. We actually got elected. When the majority of voters in the riding do not vote for the person who's elected, I think it really breeds voter apathy. I know it does. And so I think that the number one issue that we need to be talking about in this election is proportional representation, because we need to fix our democracy in order to fix all of the other issues that we face. Thank you so much.